Okie dokie, hello everybody, we are here and we are ready to start with what is the semi-final of the Rainbow Six Central Combine Central EU Qualifier semi-final. So, this is a big game. This is the best of one between ES Academia, Spirit and Blue Jays, and the winner will go through to Phase 2 of the Central Combine. My name is Jerry the Music Man, by the way. I'm joined here on the casting desk by the one, the only Chamberine. How you doing, my friend?
Hello. A wee bit hectic getting in there, but we're here. We're alive. We're kicking. We're ready to go. A couple of cheeky bands coming in the background as well, of course. Oregon is the map, so I don't think we're surprised. That's where we're going. Let's be honest here, Jerry.
Yep.
Solis, Fenrir, Ying, and Osa. Some interesting bands there, I think.
Yeah, very interesting. You've got, for instance, the Ying is just such a standard band, right? On Oregon, yeah. It's going to happen. Osa, slightly more unusual for Oregon in general. Does have her uses for certain, but you think, there are a lot of stronger bands out there. Fenrir, I'm not surprised to finally see a ban come out, and Solis is, honestly, this must be the best map for Solis. I feel like every single time I see Solis run on this map, the player on Solis not only has incredible impact by finding drones and sort of reading the game, but also picks up a decent number of kills, because there are options with the Solis to be able to sort of find those gaps and go for late round flanks, which are really brutal. And of course, with that out of the picture, you've got to think of other means of finding those cheeky plays, and we've got a couple of options here on the defensive lineup from ES Academia Spirit, who are on the defense first, Joker on that Vigil, and we have the Oryx of Sikali, who can just jump up hatches as and when he pleases.
I've seen quite a lot of Oryx over the last week or so on Oregon, so it's nice to see that even though he lost 1.5, he still gets a little bit of action here and there. I like to see it. Of course, the Thorn coming alongside as well, popping some of them inside of that blue bunker just to make sure that anyone that does send it in there a little bit will be caught out. Maybe I'll take a lick of damage, but we'll see what Joker's up to. All the way up in T2 just now, just chilling out, waiting for any chance to go for a spawn peek or whatnot, but not going to go for it. But Rexon opens up the score inside of this first round by taking the head of Pyro straight off outside of that main lobby door, and Sikali over towards Showers as well, waiting for an opportunity to snatch another one from them. 30 seconds gone, Jerry, and there's already a player down. Yeah,
and that's a crucial opening kill of the Yana as well. No nades, so you've got to hope for Blue Jays that they can find another way. Of course, those Flores drones will provide some explosive utility to remove any sort of indestructible stuff on the basement that they have to deal with later on. But they still, of course, have to deal with this roam clear. One lurking on those main stairs, that is Joker. And, of course, the Oryx that we've seen around Zulu. This is an effective crossfire onto the lobby, so the Hibana needs to be careful if she decides to wander on in here.
Surely gives away the position there, Joker, though. Just shoots that drone out, make sure that he's at least going to get something out of waiting on that staircase.
They can't know about the Zulu guy.
I don't know. I don't actually see. I don't think they do, Tubu upstairs as well is trying to go on the hunt for the player that could be up there. Of course, there is the Vigil still up there of Joker, but he comes down the staircase anyway, and they look to still be inside of Zulu, but now Joker's all the way down. Fantasy's dropped down as well, but inside, security does lurk, the Oryx of Sikali just now, waiting for an opportunity for someone coming in. But is that a supernova I see that's going to be coming in from behind? I think Sikali's looking the right way, but surely the Flores zone is going to displace them. Has to drop the hatch, but somehow escapes it. But what's going on here, Tubi?
I think that was the Flores drone. I'm pretty sure the Flores drone detonated. Tubi swung the hatch, and now Fantasy through the hatch takes out D7. It's a calamity. It's a farce. Oh, goodness me, Blue Jays. That is not something you want to happen in your first round at all. Now Rexon is in a good position at the end of Highway to try and shut out the rest of this push. 3 players left on Blue Jays. What do they do now with their limited utility and bodies? Well, that's a good start from Yasin.
Certainly is. 4 versus 3 with 45 seconds left on the clock. Tubi now taking up a position on that hatch inside of Meeting. Will opt to rotate round through Kitchen as Yazin takes a lick of damage downstairs inside of Freezer. We'll have to send out some utility using the flashbang to try and at least force their way into Freezer as they now aggress. But 1 does drop, 2 dropped instead, actually to 3 versus 1, but nothing can be done as the ES Academia take the round on the defense.
That crossfire was brutal. You could see the traces, and that is exactly why the basement is such a stronghold, especially once you get a man advantage down there. You can sit, you can wait, and you can swing on that 1-2-3 counter. They knew someone had dropped into freezer, and they knew that their death was pretty much guaranteed as long as they all took aim at the very same time. Beautifully done by Ears Academia's Spirit to claim that first round on the basement. It's what's expected. Let's be honest. This is Oregon. This is basement. We have Kozak, our lovely observer. Just a little shout out to them. It's good to have them on the sticks. And an early technical timeout, it would seem, as we do have someone disconnected from Blue Jays. So we'll be dealing with that as that sort of, gets sorted out. Looks like it is going to be a full possible rehost. We'll see. We'll just.
I think it's just the two of them leaving. I think
we'll
Sucker was.
We'll play to the whistle.
Yeah, he was in the chat there. Can I leave as well, please? I think he was having an issue. So yeah, he was just making sure that he could dip out and then come back. So I think it's just a little bug, but these things happen. But it gives us a chance to talk about why we're actually here, because we were kind of rushed in at the last second there. And of course, this is the central qualifier semi-final. Whoever wins this will qualify. And then they'll go on to play in the final. Of course, there's a third place match as well, just for placements and whatnot. But this is the important one, really. So the final, it does matter for the seeding, but it's mostly the focus would be on this game, because this gets you qualified. This gets you into that second stage. So that's what you want to be winning, of course.
Yes, and there is, of course, another game going on at the same time, a semi-final. Speedboat versus Playing Ducks. If you're interested as to why it is Playing Ducks in that semi-final and not Team Alpha, who originally made it to the quarterfinal, it's because Team Alpha have already qualified. They qualified via the closed qualifier that happened midweek, and that means that they don't need to bother competing. So the team that they beat in the bracket on Monday have advanced through, and they're facing Speedboat right now. So we'll try and give you updates on that game as things progress today, as of course these are the two meaningful games. So one of those two teams, Playing Ducks or Speedboat, will make it through alongside either ES Academia Spirit or Blue Jays.
I like that. I like that they got a chance. I like that Playing Ducks got through their Team Alpha.
Chance,
I like that they didn't, that it wasn't just a forfeit win for Speedboat. I like that they got in there, and just because of course Alpha qualifying in another competition. And for those of you that aren't aware, there are quite a few different ways to qualify. We've of course already had the Blasty UL ones on Wednesday, for the National back on Tuesday, and this is of course the continuation of the Central qualifier that happened on Monday. This is of course the end of the week, give everybody a chance to get verified and whatnot, so they can set themselves up for this game tonight. And then we have the open quals tomorrow, Jerry. This is where things get really spicy in the open quals.
Yeah, because of course those are open to absolutely everyone and anyone inside of EU. As long as you can meet a ping requirement, you can play. So we'll get a proper idea of who the big teams are knocking about that have been sort of training in secret, shall we say, and forming in the shadows. Obviously, a lot of those eyes will be turned towards some of these teams tonight, as they get a sneak preview of the teams from this central region. Just to sort of touch on that as well, ES Academia Spirit, a majority Hungarian roster up against Blue Jays here, the German side. So this is a real meeting of the two sub-regions that have formed or joined to form this, or two of the three, I should say, as it's GSA and V4 represented here. And then, of course, Benelux is the other one that's kind of subsumed into this central conglomerate. My goodness, I'm whipping out the thesaurus today, aren't I?
Oh yeah, really digging deep on the words and the vocabulary. I love to see it. But yeah, it's been a strange one. It's been a fun week though. It's been quite strange though to see all the different kind of qualifiers played into one thing. You've been so many different teams that we've seen over the week in different areas. I like that we've been able to see different play styles as well. That's been fun. Of course, I've called back to maybe Monday night when we've seen Speedboat play, and they were just absolutely tearing through everybody in the early stages. It was really fun to watch the kind of speed that they brought out. And IES as well, they put up a really good performance against Myth to get to this position earlier on. Of course, Myth, they qualified the other day as well through the Nationals. So they got through even though they got knocked out. And this is what I mean about like the lives that you had. If some teams had so many lives this week, they had maybe 3 or 4 different lives to actually get through. And it was really nice to see that they had that much opportunity to do it. Like, I know that this game has actually started, so I know that our observer has confirmed that, but we're just a few seconds behind. So we'll continue to waffle on a little bit and discuss things. But coming back to the game, I think that opening round was a little bit funky. I liked the setup. I liked that they, of course, opted to have that Oryx play around the hatch. I always like to see something like that, especially given that he was a 1.5 crutch, and I like to see people playing him for the ability instead of the 1.5. So I like that, that they were playing that. Didn't quite use it to too much effect, but it worked out in the end.
I'm enjoying the Dido. I'm enjoying the Dido in the all chat here from Sickly. He's keeping us entertained, which I fully respect. As I say that, though, I am going to transition us to the cams in just a moment. So give us a few. But we'll just sort of talk a little bit about the competition as a whole and things. Just sort of stuff like you say, we did kind of rush into things in case you're wondering. Oh yeah, by the way, we didn't coordinate clothes, and I'm very sorry because this is the complete opposite. It's complete opposite, right? You know, plain white tee versus this kind of crime against humanity going on right here. And I just realized that we really are only a few seconds behind the broadcast. I thought that this little cam scene would last a little bit longer, but no, we're heading straight back into the game because we are in the prep phase right this second. So finally a bit more game to analyse, because really all we could say about that last round was very nice early roam, very unfortunate incident with the Flores drone, and excellently held crossfires at the end from Academia Spirit.
I was about to comment on the game there, but I unfortunately defeated my end for a sec. So, I'll allow you to continue for a second while I fix it.
No problem, champ. So we are here on this top floor defense, kids' dorms, and now we're going to take a look at this lineup, because that's what good casters do, eh? So the Azami is in play, and this is something that you've got to get used to, right? Is that Val can play Azami in play quite often. Before that would not have been the case, but Fenrir being added to that pool of incredibly powerful defenders, I think I've said it a number of times over the week, just means that you're going to see more of these powerful defenders come through and be impactful. Fantasy playing inside of tower, very good spot for a Azami to be in. You can create some really nasty sightlines and a real problem for attackers to have to try and clear out any barricades, and of course has the option to rotate back through the site should he want to. Joker on this shield is going to hold this default angle, but there is someone on the reverse repel. A very nice way of dealing with that position. An open closet hold as well, worth mentioning, because it means that you're going to expect these defenders to be fighting out of that opening.
I'm sorted now. I'm back in the game. Thanks for painting that picture for me, Jerry. I really appreciate it, because I had absolutely nothing in front of me for a few seconds there, but I'm back. I'm ready to go. Froxy downstairs, still trying to make an inroad towards the kitchen side. Seems to be a little bit hesitant to go any further. Rexon is down there to hold on to that position. Of course, a little bit of verticality played up through towards the kid side. But see that plays out. 2B has now made their way in towards Armory, and Pyrod just trying to take some of that balcony back. But I think they've actually reinforced that you mentioned out. They've actually managed to reinforce closet. So I love that. Love to see late round reinforcements, using it to the most of their advantage, and also popping down a mute jammer, making it a real pain to get in towards that closet side now. And of course, but they do have the Thatcher, so they can utilise that to open it up, and that's exactly what is going to happen. Paired with the ace, it's nice and open, so they can then aggress onto that main breach.
Very clear, very simple, very standard. Fantasy, though, takes out Pyrod, and now you've got another round without Yoyana. This is going to be hopefully not a recurring theme for Blue Jays, as they will struggle, but this Academia Spirit are doing a great job at securing these opening frags. You can hear those Kiba barricades being deployed in the corner there, just to keep that sightline shut into Attic. They want to hold on to that position. 2B at risk if he decides to go and melee it, because of course that exposes him to the doorway. Fantasy with a second of the round. Excellent work from the Azami, taking down Yazan. That is the ace out of the picture. Again, a 3 versus 5. The Blue Jays look a little bit under the weather here.
It's going to be really difficult, because they still have to deal with the fact that there is a Mira downstairs inside of security. You can see Rexon down there with the C4 playing into that position, and of course Sucker's rotated down as well to support them, so it's going to be very difficult to take them. But Fantasy upstairs finds a triple kill, as at the same time they actually trade. D7 gets that, well, not trade, but they get a refrag at least. D7 gets that refrag, leaves them with 2 members left alive, and of course as the words leave my mouth, Jerry, we're down to 1 member. And D7 versus the world here inside of this round finds 1 but can't find any more. The defenders of IES, they take the round. That's 2 in a row in Oregon.
So clean, so clean from ES Academia Spirit, and it's standard Oregon stuff, but they're doing it to the best of their ability. Very nice work in terms of reinforcing that closet after fighting out of it. We even saw a little bit of that observation blocker hiding the view into Trophy, so it enabled the hold to be a bit lengthened. Excellent work from Fantasy. The triple kill dominated the round, just dancing around in the center of the map, controlling the entire top floor by himself with those keep barricades and with the gun that came with it. So, wonderful stuff from Fantasy. And now, 2-0 up onto the tertiary side. This is where ES Academia Spirit should truly be tested. Can they complete the full circuit here against the Blue Jays? It is going to be a meeting kitchen variant. And we see a couple of interesting picks on the defense. Well, one interesting pick. That is the Doc, particularly.
Doesn't happen often. Doesn't happen often. You see the Doc coming through. I like to see people playing things that are slightly off meta and trying things out. Of course, these are the times to try the new things. You know, when you've got all on the line, let's try a strat that maybe is slightly different and slightly off. Especially on maps like Oregon, where it is so tried and tested. Everybody knows exactly how Oregon plays. So let's try something different, see if it works. Joker, though, he's going to head up to the top floor of the tower and see if they can come up with some sort of maybe spawn peek or just play around. It really depends. I don't think we'll see too many of them. I'm not seeing that much through the qualifiers, Jerry.
No, it's likely to be a play around those keeper barricades because that top floor is a real pain. I think I mentioned it last round, but eventually he just sort of fell back very quickly. This time around, I think he's going to hold that position a little bit longer. As we see the top floor, or rather, well, the second floor. Okay, now we get into the debate. I'm just going to call it the floor that we're looking at upstairs, right? Yeah. Upstairs is being taken by the attackers. It seems to be a priority for them. Drone taken out by Rexon, and that is going to be a bit of a problem for Blue Jays, as now they can't keep a handle on the basement, but not in a position where he can cause any direct threat. You see Pyroid as well, just holding on to Zulu, while the rest of his team try and clear out that top floor and force the issue up there. In fact, they've moved
downstairs,
they've moved to the middle. They've moved to the middle now. And they're taking some slack from the players inside of meeting. This is a strange push. Usually when you see a kind of lobby-sided push, it's a lot quicker. It's via the garage. It's with a quick breach. But they've almost telegraphed this slightly. There is that breach coming through. Nade onto the Vision and Joker is effective. And this Monty is causing some real problems. Two players in Zulu. What can they do?
Rexon has been able to make their way towards the Zulu side, but can't really push too far enough past Classroom to try and get the kill behind Monty, who is actually going to put the plant down now. Sikalilo is just going to go bold for it, right, and swing right round. Surely he's going to go for it, but doesn't. Turns back. It's 2 versus 5. It's off on a par here, Jerry. I've loosened the track. What's going on here? Blue Jays win the round.
Wow, excellent post plant, and just a very well enabled plant. It would seem. I looked at that and I thought this is a little bit too slow, but clearly ES Academia Spirit just didn't have their eyes in the right places, didn't commit to the right kind of push. Very nice frag grenade, opened things up by removing the player inside of the site, and it forced a bit of rotation, and I feel like that rotation was a little bit slow. They didn't go for the fights in Zulu, they just didn't back themselves, and I've got to say, ES Academia Spirit, that's a situation where you should just be taking the fight, quite honestly. You need to be applying a bit more pressure via Zulu, just to force the issue, just to make it a bit more uncomfortable for those covering. Very smart use of the Monty, has to be said. Very good idea to just stick him in there and get the plant down behind the shield, because we saw the attempt at the counter plant, and it was quelled by the fact that he had a few extra seconds just to sit behind that shield and avoid a couple of shots. So very, very well played. Nice use of the Monty, and Blue Jays do buy themselves a first round, and a very, very good one at that. So we got a game on our hands here, champ.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, you were quite out there. It did start a little bit slow, a little bit iffy, but you know they got it across the board. So it's good to see, you know, and they've started that. So that's the sweat off the brow as the first round has been collected for them, and we're going to the bottom floor this time. Mira's in tow, not surprised to see it. I don't think there's anything too flashy about the defensive lineup. Of course, going for the Monty again, though, in the hands of Froxy, and D7 set up for that west side take on the Lonesome. The rest of the attackers, though, they're set up on that east side, so I think it's going to be a little bit of a pinch push. We're going to try something from both sides to see if they can get some action working, but Joker is going to try and contest on the other side in Kitchen just now.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a linger from Joker. But there's no direct pressure right now. Instead of this west side clear that we saw Blue Jays go for last time around, they are going for this tower side instead. Again, employing the Monty. Unusual to see Monty, in all honesty. I'm more used to seeing a blitz when it comes to this kind of push. Yeah, the speed is somewhat necessary, and you can see why right now, as the smoke does go out. Froxy is covering this position just to be able to enable some shots back into E-Box. Sucker does have a C4 in hand, basically has that mirror window. So in fact, they do want to be fighting against anyone that comes through into blue. Some interesting
That's
movements.
interesting.
Just some unusual movements from the attacking side right now, just to try and get a handle on things. Of course, they will get this E-box hatch open, and that will cause some issues for anyone playing there. Of course, they have to evacuate it. Pillar becomes almost inhospitable. You have Rexon still lingering, still trying to get aggressive. It's a dangerous dance between these two sides. Neither side fully committing, but also just teetering on the edge of an engagement.
Yeah, and as you say, that Rexon will try to take an engagement up that staircase, and eventually will maybe come out on top, and suddenly there's so much damage there, but Pyrod comes out on top anyway. All of that push for nothing for Rexon. Unfortunate timing for them. Froxy, though, now has been able to aggress past that bunker push and can get themselves all the way towards Boiler. But it looks as though no one on the defense really wants to move, except from Joker, who's now rotated round to hold that angle onto the back staircase. The hatch is, of course, open. Now the flashbangs will start to come. The drop does go through as well. Sucker finds one. Fantasy with another. And Joker to finish off the player on the back staircase. But there's a trade to come out round about Pillar, and it leaves the Monty with it all to do. And IS Academia take the round by sheer attrition there.
Yeah, and there was one element to that push that just did not go quite as right as Blue Jays were maybe hoping, and that was removing the player on the highway door, just behind Pillar. It was the Warden. We saw him flick on his glasses to avoid any sort of distraction, any flashes, any smokes that would have been laid down to enable that E-box drop. But unfortunately, I mean, he didn't even really need to. It could have been anyone in that position, because the suppression to that position by Blue Jays was inadequate. There was a nade that was sent out, didn't meet its mark. It was maybe a little lackluster, especially when you consider they had smokes at their disposal. They didn't opt to use them in that position. They dropped with the Monty. It didn't go to plan. And there were some nice little frags that came out. The yellow ping onto tower stairs and the wallbang from the Warden that followed was very nice, but by that point a lot of the damage had already been done by the supporting cast on the side of Blue Jays, so on the side of rather IS Academia Spirit. So yeah, a little bit of work there I think needed Blue Jays, because that's the second time we've seen them fail on this basement attack. Of course, it's not expected that you win those, but at the same time you can't purely be relying on winning these tertiary sites on the attack. You've got to make sure you win one of these primaries, right? One of the top floor or the bottom floor.
Joker teased a wee runner out there, but doesn't connect anything. And I want to come to the setup that they have upstairs. We've seen this setup with the Mira just creeping in ever so slightly over the last couple of months. The setup with having the Mira inside of attic and then fully feet holes all the way through between both the dorms and the kids' rooms. It doesn't happen. It hasn't been like a prominent thing, but it's slowly starting to creep in a little bit more. And I'm quite liking it. I'm liking that things change. This is what I like about Oregon, and of course playing with the rotating side of tower as well. So they've also got the rotating closet. So very free with it, very loose with their defense. They don't want to be constricted into sight, and I love that from IS so far.
They are taking their time, Blue Jays. This has been a consistent theme on their attacks. Even the kind of rush to meeting was a very slow one, and it's difficult to say that they're doing it very efficiently either, because of course they've been failing to get these opening frags. That's really what they need, is they need to enable someone, and often it's been Pyrod in that opening death. Of course, these opening frags just not going his way, so they can try and pick someone in this situation. Joker looks like the prime target as he is flashed. ADS is not going to do its job there. It does have to fall back into the safety of the site itself, and that is a wise move. It just seems like Blue Jays aren't following up on this aggression, and Sucker will find Pyrod. Another Sucker punch coming to the faces of Blue Jays, and Pyrod really struggling to get into the game here.
Definitely one of the pre-written lines there, Jerry. Loved it. But the game here,
be surprised how many of them are literally off the cuff. That one, I didn't think about it and it happened, but you know, if there's a pun to be had, I'll make it.
Absolutely love it. But this has been a funky round there. They've went for this very one-dimensional push, Blue Jays. They haven't really opted to put anyone anywhere else on the map. They're all focusing on that south-east side. But downstairs, Rexon does lurk, and it's interesting that it's the Mira of all players to go for that roam. The C4's already been sent out from them, so they won't be able to connect anything with it. Of course, one member has fallen, you mentioned it. Pyrod is the one that has already been killed off with the nades in pocket, which is not an ideal one to lose first, but another Mira window has popped again on a very funky situation. They like it on kind of different walls here for IES. They've got it on that wall next to White. Fantasy feeling a little bit of pressure inside of Kids' dorms from that main window, and they're slowly just starting to fade back here, IES, as the pressure starts to mount.
My issue is where are they going to walk in? They've used a lot of their hard breach. They're losing bodies thick and fast, but Fantasy is adding to the tally at least for the defense. But there we go. Sucker with the C4 takes down one. Triple kill for Sucker, holding this position at the top of the White Stairs very strongly. And there's the last for Joker. A stagnant push, I have to say, from Blue Jays, but very well held by Illis Academia Spirit. They are showing themselves to be the far superior side, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, they've been really, really good so far. The setups have been great. They've really tapered their aggression at the right times as well. You've seen that they played on Trophy early on, and they slowly just fall back as things start to kind of aggress onto them, and they start to feel more pressure. They've done really, really well. Used the late round reinforcements. That's twice in a row for that site that they've used it. Popped the mute jammer down. Makes them work for it, because it's all about map control. It's all about putting the pressure in the right places for the attackers. It's all about gaining as much of that as possible to set yourself up for that execute. So far, they've played inside a Master, played inside a Trophy, and bought themselves time, then fell back, reinforced it off, and then that's another step, another box that needs to be ticked by the attackers, and they've shown time and time again that they're just not really capable of it, though. But what I want to see from Blue Jays is just a little bit more diversification with the pushes. They seem to be a little bit too one-dimensional. Everybody going to focusing at the same area. I'd like to see even just one attempt at a backstab, maybe a knock, because they are open, just something to spice it up a little bit, put a little bit of pressure somewhere else, just poke holes somewhere in the defense.
Yeah, they're very linear, it seems. Like you say, they could do with that extra element. There are some points where there's a bit of a misinvestment of utility as well. The point that really made me kind of in the middle of that one was seeing an Ace Selma charge set up against that mirror when there wasn't a walkable hole inside of Closet. That was the final Selma charge. So effectively trying to nullify that sight line, I get it. But also, at that point in time, they hadn't created any sort of entryway to get into the site itself. And they just ended up funneling through these bottlenecks, and that cost them. So I think just having that extra opening maybe would have been better than taking down the mirror window, as strange as it may seem. Either way, 4-1 right now, and we have Blue Jays setting up right now on what is a kitchen defense here. Yeah. Academia Spirit decided their meeting defense wasn't strong enough, so they're going to go for the other tertiary variant. But 2B finally finds an entry frag for the Blue Jays, and he's deep inside a site, chat.
What's going on here? He's just sent it all the way in. No idea how he's been able to get in there, but he's inside a kitchen, completely uncontested. No one's there, but Fantasy has a spider sense tinkling in the back of their mind, knows that they're going to be somewhere, and uses the pistol of all things to kill them off from quite a distance. So, 2 players down inside a minute. A little bit of a funky start. Froxy finds Fantasy, and that brings the 3 versus 4 scenario on IES. Look to be a little bit iffy when it comes to these tertiary sites here, Jerry, as another player falls. That's 2 versus 4, but Sucker's on the rotate and to try and support Joker upstairs, who is feeling the pressure starting to constrict down on them inside of Master and Dorms Hall. Yeah,
they can do their due diligence here, Blue Jays, and they're in a fantastic position halfway through the round, and only 2 players left to find, so they can just set out the drone, Sucker downstairs, Joker upstairs. They need to win, you know, a couple of double kills here, essentially. Both of them, or either of them, need to go absolutely huge to claw themselves back ahead in this round. 4-1. Looks like it will likely be 4-2. Joker misses out on the engagement from Pyrod, and Froxy will finish things off. A very clean exit there from Blue Jays, and it just comes down to those tertiary sites working in their favor. A few things a little bit awry on the side of ES Academia Spirit, and this game is feeling really kind of gruesome, really brutal. There's mistakes being made, and it's costing teams, but at the same time, it's a real grind to get through. And these, you know, the defenses have been absolutely solid on the primary and tertiary. And then when it comes to those, primary, secondary, when it comes to those tertiary, they've just been a little lackluster. So Blue Jays, we're going to have to see something different. They struggled up against the sort of odd setup when it came to ES Academia Spirit's defenses. If Blue Jays go for something a bit more standard, I have a feeling that ES Academia Spirit will have the know-how to just tackle the defaults.
They did listen to me in that last round, though. They did hear me, at least through the ether, that I wanted them to just provide some different type of push, not be so one-dimensional. We've seen that 2B was inside the site. No idea how we got there, by the way, just see the teleport in. But this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see someone just try to extrapolate a weakness somewhere, maybe a wee backstab somewhere there, and that worked from them. So that's what I wanted. I'm glad that they delivered on it, but we'll see what they can come up with on the defense. Of course, starting on the bottom floor, we'll see if they can come up with the solutions to this, and I wonder if we'll see something different from what IES will have, what Blue Jays have brought in their attack from IES.
It seems like the most turtle setup imaginable, right, on the side of Blue Jays. You've even got Melusi. I feel like we've gone back in time. Melusi and Maestro don't really get a look in nowadays. Yeah. Same with Legion. You know, why
really?
Like, yeah, every single one of these defensive operators has seen like a bit of a downtick in their usage over time. But it seems like Blue Jays, they want to play a bit more traditional. Pyrod holding on to Kitchen for the time being with this MK14. Great weapon to be doing this sort of thing with. Long angles opened up and try and sneak a cheeky kill on any attackers that are not paying close enough attention, not communicating closely enough. But it seems like ES Academia Spirit are doing a decent job of this early round, sort of pinning down the players. Oh, what a tasty shot there from Joker. Pyro deleted, removed from the server, and now it's like we've got a player on Blue Jays who's keen to try and retake that position, but decides against it. E1D will come out, and that should spell pretty good early control for ES Academia Spirit. They have that first kill, and they have now, I believe, if Roxy is smart enough, the top 2 floors. Or is he going to hold it for longer?
I think he's just going to hold on to the hatch for as long as possible, then go for the drop. Just see if they can catch someone out here. Yazin as well is thinking about going up the staircase to try and flank, but the drone will give away the position. It does commit to it, but does come out on top. Yazin finds Rexon. That was a bit of a peculiar play there from Rexon. Gets caught out, but it is what it is.
Just didn't expect the Melusi to fall back. Or to fall up, rather. He fell back eventually, but yeah, that was a good heads-up play there from Yazin to just attack the drone, and he manages to get away with it. There wasn't enough cover on the bottom floor on the rotate. We saw someone holding it after the fact, but just a little bit too late. Fantasy going prone here to avoid that head glitch angle. Does manage to tickle Froxy, who will back away as a Legion into this more secure highway position. This is pretty much the central power position of this entire hold. You can peek into whichever crossfire you need to support, and it looks as though Academia Spirit, they're leaning a bit more heavily on this construction side. They do have the Lion, who's tickled, sort of taunted, teased the idea of that freezer push, but we can see where most of the chips are pinned down and placed, and that is going for that E-box and construction push.
2 members fell very early on, and there's not really been much since. The attackers, though, have taken quite a bit of control inside the meeting, so they haven't managed to get to that hatch that they need. Sickle as well is taken all the way up towards Bunker. So if anyone does go for that rotate, then they'll be caught out. But now the E1Ds, if I get the name right, do come through, and now the hatch will be dropped. 2 players at the same time. Fantasy and Joker go down, but is Joker aware the player is so close? Froxy right on the corner is just going to be so patient and wait the entire time, but Joker knows exactly where he is. Pre-fires, takes his head clean off his shoulders. It's a 4 versus 3, and it's all just going to go back and forward as Yazin finds Joker, and it's 3 seconds on the clock. Pistol in hand, down prone, and holds it out. Can't get the diffuser, and Blue Jays win the round on time.
Excellent play from Lucy there, taking out the kit player as soon as he walks in, just in the iconic position, uncontested. And you got to check. That's why I said halfway through that, 30 seconds left, they really hadn't done enough setup to establish what they were going to do with that push. They were lucky, quite honestly, to win the engagement onto the player inside of the highway double door. Very nice play from our Yana of Joker there to continue, in fact, where they set off, got the opening frag and gave themselves a bit of a chance when it came to that late round. But the power positions were still in play. You still had a player lurking inside a freezer. You still had someone by that closet door. It's still a horrible crossfire to walk into, and Iconic was unchecked. That was a crucial factor. Too late, too little, and not enough intel going into that final push from ES Academia Spirit. Means that they find themselves now with that gap closed on them quite considerably. They were 4-1 up at one point, 4-3 now.
They were looking comfortable at a time, but now it seems to be slipping away a little bit. Of course, Blue Jays within touching distance now, just the 1 round separating them. Top floor though this time, and we are seeing a bit of an interesting change here. Of course, IES, they wanted to bring the mirror every single time, whereas Blue Jays, they've changed things around. They're going to bring the castle, they're going to bring the warden as well, and the mutants and whatnot. So slightly different approaches, and this is what I like to see from teams. I like when they approach, again, these maps that have been played so much. I like when they approach them slightly differently and come up with different setups. Sucker has, of course, the Habana. We'll get rid of one of those castle barricades on Master. Will attempt to. There's a mute jammer that's going to stop that just now as they try to set up this attack from the east side just now.
There's under the hard breach charge. That's going to pressure D7 out of that position. No way of denying it. Like we had Froxy looking to make his way to that hatch as quickly as possible. He wants to get this late round flank going on. Well, it's not in late round, it's an early round flank going on. But he wants to be a factor come the late round. That's why he is dropping down here to lurk and linger for as long as possible. Maybe prevent anyone coming up through that lobby area as quickly as possible. Oh, unfortunate time to DC there. 50 seconds into the round, no opportunity to rehost for D7. Blue Jays are going to have to play out this as a 4v5.
Very unfortunate to happen mid-round. Of course, can't reconnect, but it's what it is. We'll play on. Joker has a little bit of a foothold inside of Armory. Opts to just give it up for now because they're wary of the fact that there could be someone on the rotate, and it is Froxy downstairs who does shoot that drone, so the position will be given away. They will know that there is someone downstairs. They'll know that the Jaeger is floating around that area. Pyro though aggressively onto the doorway inside of Master and will be dealt with. Sucker comes out on top. Lick of damage done onto the sledge of Fantasy, but they'll be happy with the position that they have been able to claim. But the interesting point here is Froxy still just teasing with that rotate as Rexon begins to just cause havoc inside the site, deals with Yazin, and Tubi's left with all we do inside the site, but that flank will eventually come, and it's a spray, just pick someone to shoot at, but can't decide as the attackers of IS just close it out, and they shut them down. They take a round on the attack here, Jerry.
The Warden was done absolutely dirty there by whoever made the rotating closet. You could see he wanted to get back into the site, but he couldn't. It was just, you know, he was getting caught on a corner or something. Maybe he found his way in quite easily, but when he had to duck back out, he had to try and hug the wall, and it wasn't properly open, so he just got stuck, lingered a little too long, caught out by the player on the balcony. Of course, Blue Jays were always going to be on the back foot, having lost a player to that disconnect, but thankfully they have reconnected mid-round or mid-prep phase there, so we can continue straight away as D7 is back in the game. Now, that is a big round for your Academia Spirit, right? Regardless of how they got it, regardless of the circumstances, that is a big round, because that is attacking a secondary site. We did not see Blue Jays manage to achieve that in their entire attacking half. And now is Academia Spirit. They basically have the upper hand. They are putting Blue Jays on that back foot, forced to try and go to this site again. They need to get this, Blue Jays. If they lose this, then they're as good as dead. They're as good as out of the combine. So they're gonna try again. Exactly the same setup. You know, they're gonna put a lot of that loss down to the fact that they had a disconnect, right? So why not try again?
The only change that they've actively made is that they've changed onto the Azami from the castle. That's the difference for this setup. They haven't changed much else. Similar idea as the castle. I think that they realised that the castle barricade just wasn't giving that value that they wanted. Of course, Sickerly was just smashing it to bits using the sledgehammer, so it didn't really matter most of the time. But they've changed that this time. Bring the Azami. Of course, the thing though that I want to focus on is the fact that Fantasy's hopped on the Amaru of all operators, and there's a knock as well. A little bit of a difference here from IES on this attack.
Yeah, I would like to imagine that Amaru is part of the sort of just like, I want to say new meta for this map, but it's almost a kind of 6-month, 12-month-old meta now, where you take that Amaru just to get into the top floor of tower. That being said, it hasn't really been used, and instead we see Froxy going up there late round, like, you know, a minute in, and he's caught out by Joker, the Nook. So unusual. Fantasy may be looking to employ that Amaru Garrett hook instead as a way of cheekily getting up the hatch, maybe causing a bit of issues inside of Kid Storms. He's currently located on that 90 hallway on the floor, just with the shotgun as well. Prepared for close quarters engagements. Pyrod tucked here inside of a spot affectionately known as Hobo. And he will send out that magnet, expecting some throwables to come his way. The nade is first, but it will not connect. And it looks like ES Academia Spirit, honestly, they're set up for a pretty quick take here, chaps.
Yeah, they really are. The vertical nades are coming up. They're trying to just catch Pyrod out there, but they're not able to land the nades. They're just not quite landing it with the intel onto where Pyrod actually is there. But look at that shot that comes out from Pyrod. Knows exactly where to pre-fire, takes the head of Sucker off. Still attempting these vertical nades, but with no info, can't land them onto the position of Pyrod. It's a double kill for him, actually, and they still seem to be playing havoc inside of Hobo. Eventually does fall to the SMG-11 of Fantasy, and that leaves D7 inside of Kids to defend that side of the map.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Stronghold from Pyrod. That was seconds away from being a quick execute from ES Academia Spirit, but he just, you know, thread the needle on this big window, and he put a real stunt on ES Academia Spirit's hopes here. And this could be another very big round, right? Fantasy, here we go. Prepped for the hop in 2 games. This is an unusual entryway to be making, but here we go, champ. They've hit the trigger.
certainly have. E1D comes out to give away positions, but it's putting the dirt right away. 2B knew exactly what was going to happen. 1 versus 2 now is established, and now a 1 versus 1. Joker versus Yazin, but can they find each other? They're just going to play a little game of ring the roses as they try to get the position and the intel that they need. But Joker's in a good position here. Can actually go for the plant if he opts to do it, but not going to go for it as of yet. He seems to want to take the gunfight, but now he's going to be forced to do something, and it's not going to be the defuse anyway. It's definitely going to be the gunfight. He knows exactly where he is, behind that shield, but Free Fire's come through, and look how much it's just covering it, but eventually it does come out on top as Joker forces the gunfight and forces the round win for IES, and they go into match point.
Wow, what a tense final engagement there. Rexon can't believe it. That was dicey, and this is now danger territory for Blue Jays.
Yep.
2 Dorms defenses in a row failed. That's as good as curtains. Here's Academia Spirit. Now, they have to attack the basement. Blue Jays expected to win this, but after that, then, you know, you've got your choice. If Blue Jays win 2 rounds in a row, which they need to keep themselves in this game, they're then forced onto a tertiary site. East Academia Spirit should win that. I mean, by all accounts, they should win Dorms if they have to get forced back there again. So Blue Jays, they really have to turn it around, not just in terms of rounds, but just performance, right? This has been not enough from them. And ES Academia Spirit, they're showing their true colours here. Fantasy and Joker dominating in the kills department. Joker especially 13 and 4. He's in a different league, this guy.
Very much so, and I'm liking the way that IES have set up so far. Now, of course, as I was about to highlight it, they're going to change off it. This is the bad thing about pointing something out on attacker repick, but I was going to point out the fact that, of course, they have Maestro, they have the Valk, and they were going to bring the Brava, but instead they're going to hop onto the Flores. Instead, go a bit more traditional with it.
That would have been a good
It would have been.
Surprisingly.
Exactly, that's why I was teeing myself up there. Like, this is a great piece of analysis, ready for it,
Yeah.
but it's with the IES to take it away from me, and they're going to bring the Flores instead, which I'm sure will get a good result off the back of it. And Pyrod, playing in the same position as the last time, want to hold on to that kitchen and dining side. Joker is the one to try and aggress on it, and is not the one I would want to be facing up against, to be honest, Jerry.
No, he's the guy that's going to be the spear tip for ES Academia Spirit. You wouldn't want anyone else in this situation from their perspective, and of course Pyrod has done some good work. Honestly, this is a duel I'm excited to see, and it is Pyrod who will come out on top with the MK14 and those holes working in his favour. Beautiful utilisation of his army. This is that position we got to see him play last time. Doesn't quite have the same effect, or didn't quite have the same effect in this that time round. Fantasy opening up that breach just to enable a bit of a sightline down into Freezer doorway, just to prevent anyone from rotating out of their late game. It's not going to happen though, as Blue Jays, they've got that man advantage, and they've decided, you know, that's enough for us. Yazan, he's there to cause, you know, a few headaches maybe, shoot a couple drones, but he won't give his life up in this position.
Yeah, it just pops up there with the Kiba barrier just to slot it onto that doorway to make sure it is a little bit more of a pain to enter that side of the map. Fantasy very comfortable on the white staircase, just getting the drones through, and Sickly is well set up inside of kitchen. Opston said, you know what, I'm just going to run right through the Aruni barricade. I'm not really bothered about losing some HP. It doesn't really matter to me, so we'll see if that comes back to bite them later on. The hatch is open, by the way, inside the meeting, so they can aggress down on to the E-Bok if they do want to, and Sucker, that is currently in that position for now, has quite a bit of an angle actually in towards blue just now.
My question is, you know, ES Academia Spirit, they struggle to execute onto this site at you know, an even man count. Are they going to manage it at a man disadvantage, and now a 2-man disadvantage, as 2B decides to pick his fight a bit too early, goes in at 2B, rather, Rexon decides to pick his fight a bit too early. 2B is there to clean him up very easily with that shotgun, and now you got to say that there's got to be some heroics coming out from someone on the side of ES Academia. Maybe this cheeky little laundry drop is the ticket, as everyone on the side of ES Academia, they've decided to split up and play their ones. They can't trade their way to victory. Someone has to go big.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult, but they are spread out, so they can poke and prod from either side. And the position that was being given away is from Bunker. Double kill for Pyrod on the round. Goes to try to connect with the third, but can't do that. 2 versus 3 though. Prone, accidental click on the key there. The 1 versus 3 is left for Fantasy to try and clutch this up. 30 seconds on the clock. Still enough time to get the clutch done, but I don't think the Blue Jays will be over-peaking this too much. They want to make sure that they get this round done. But where do they go next from here? Is Fantasy now push along the corridor? But it's a trade. Flick. Wow.
Jeez. I mean, I know Fantasy lost that round, but at least he's got that on the show reel. That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, a nice little confidence booster at the end of a disappointing round for Ears Academia Spirit, because that was Blue Jays all over. And I want to give props especially to Pyrod. Opened up the round and got the second as well downstairs, just to really solidify the dominance that Blue Jays had on that basement hold. Little tip for, I believe it was Sucker on the Hibana, switching to your secondary is always quicker than reloading. That was a real horrible moment to witness, and I hate to bring it up. It was just funny to me, you know. Sometimes that happens, but you know, on the back foot, we can't exactly be too critical. Maybe hoping that, of course, in the 3 versus 4, which he made it because he just got the kill beforehand onto Pyrod, that there wasn't anyone near enough and preparing himself for maybe a couple of bodies to come his way in 3 or 4 seconds time. Unfortunately, there was one right next to him, so he wasn't. We now go into the 11th round? There we go. Quick math. 11th round.
Yeah.
Kid Storms and Blue Jays. We've seen them twice here before. First round, it was a write-off. You had the DC. Second round, didn't go their way.
Yeah.
To be struggling with connection, it would seem, as well. That's not going to bode well. He was sort of lagging a little bit there. But they've opted for some cheeky picks here as the Capcan has been brought.
Yeah, love to see it. Of course, Capcan had an increase in picks for a little bit and then slipped down again. Of course, the 1.5 does make a difference a lot of the time. Froxy being cheeky with it though on small tower. Staircase will just linger up there, but I think they were just opening it up to show face. That's all they're going to be doing, I think. Fantasy and Sickly not opting to go from that side of the map. They're just going to let Blue Jays waste their own time over there. They're not interested in even facing up towards it. They've all rotated back to the southeast side, and that's where they look to set up the majority of this setup. And of course, we've seen it last time. The Amaru again, but this time it's in the hands of Sickly.
I'm feeling like that's one hell of a dice to roll with with your team sitting down on match point. Like, to hide up there. 2B getting stuck there. Not really stuck, but either way, he put himself in that position, and Sucker will take him down easily from outside. Long range angle being fought back against onto Sucker. But there's the run out, and Froxy's gambit does pay off. Eventually strikes in the round, decides, I'm not just going to wait. I'm going to have an impact. Takes down the diffuser carrier of Sucker, gets revenge for his fallen 2B teammate. And Sickly now in a position to try and go for that, launch into Kid's bedroom, but he's got to wait for the opportune moment here as the rest of his team are closing in across Attic and Trophy, respectively.
Yeah, they don't have that line this time, so they're not going to be coordinating it with that piece of utility. Instead, it'll just be up to Sickly to choose his moment when they think the aggression is set up from the rest of their teammates. Most of them are set up inside a Trophy Fantasy, and Joker just sending in some nades in towards the main site, but none of them are really going to connect with anything of substance. Still, we have D7 wedged into Attic behind the shield and plenty ADSs to protect it as well, and there isn't really any utility to now deal with it. 4 versus 3 though, as Joker doesn't even care about using utility, just going to use the gun instead. Now 14 and 5 in the server, having a wonderful time, and D7 will be feeling the pressure from either side here, Jerry.
It's a big kill from Joker to put a stamp on this round, and Abdul on the back foot, down match point. D7 has to win this fight, but he can't. He goes down. Pyrod will claim Sickly though. He's going to have to be the hero here. We've seen the work he can do from this position, but Froxy is there to take out Joker. 2 versus 2. Froxy again, such a massive impact, comes up huge with the triple on the round, and the quad from Froxy. Blue Jays are still in this thanks to the Jaeger. They are clawing their way back. 6-5. We will see all 12 rounds of regulation, Sham.
He didn't rest on his laurels whatsoever. We pointed out that he was inside a small tower, wasting a little bit of time. You thought, maybe a little bit of a gamble, but the run out came early, made an impact, and was able to at least even it up. And then from there, just snowballed it throughout the round, pops up the white staircase and just collects life after life, kill after kill. Absolutely love to see it. Someone taking a grip at the round. That's what Blue Jays have needed in a couple of these rounds. They've needed someone to really take it by the scruff at the neck and win it out, and they have successfully done that so far. So I am hoping that we can maybe get one more round out of them and then maybe get us into overtime. But we'll see if IES can buck the trend, because that's been a tricky defense for Blue Jays, even though they won it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are making me think that Ears Academia Spirit should shut this out. But,
yeah,
just look at this, right? They have to, Blue Jays have to defend meeting. They've finally been forced onto their tertiary. This is that situation I was pointing out earlier. It's 6-3. If Blue Jays win 2 rounds in a row, which they did, and they have, they are now forced onto their tertiary. Not only that, Ears Academia Spirit have looked incredibly strong. They only lost that last round due to some true heroics from Froxy. But that's just the thing, right? That confidence boost now for Blue Jays, that is what they have to ride. They have to really be going for this pedal to the metal
Attackers
just
objective
floor ES Academic Spirit in this final round of overtime. Something has to happen. I want to see a Spawn Peak, honestly. I want to see some big cojones plays coming out from Blue Jays, because that could keep them in this.
They'll have the confidence behind them. Of course, Froxy dropping that 4K in the last round will really light a fire behind them, but I'm hoping that they can keep that going. I'm hoping that they can get that. But the thing is, for me, the overbearing issue is that the Fantasy and Joker are currently I've currently got 28 kills between them, and that is the concerning point for me just now for Blue Jays. And we'll see if that obviously pays off. Of course, Joker this time going to be on the knock, and this is what I wanted to see from Blue Jays on their side, and I have been seeing it from IES. They've had one of those players just play that backstab, play that sneaky play that kind of catching people off guard, and we'll see if it pays out for him, because he's the only one on that side. He's the only one over towards the south side, as the rest of the attack are set up for that north side attack to the meeting, and as they set things up, they're going to open up that top floor attic and force the drop from Yazan on the Azami.
Pyro can still play from back here. We've seen the damage he can do with these long-range optics. He's got the 1.5 on the UMP, and you can just see him jiggling that. We've seen him on the MK14 in the past, but this thing, as long as it headshots as well, can do just as much damage. Well, you know, obviously, this is 100 damage, instant kill, whatever. However much health you have, it's gone. That's what the headshot does. We know that. So his job is absolutely crucial here. Can he hold on to this position for as long as possible? The Azami as well is going to help that with Yazan in tow, playing a bit closer. Of course, the reason that they're fighting so clearly over this position is that hatch looks straight down into the site. Sucker is going to want to get this second wall open. He has the protection underneath of the Nook. That area has been completely cleared. Sixty might want to think about actually keeping that castle barricade intact.
Yeah.
But no, it looks like they want to swing into it with Nook sending a nade down range, and that breach has been opened. So full control now, almost, as we see. Oh, perhaps gets a lick. Nope, doesn't quite see him. And this no man's land on the top floor is still being fought over. The fight back and forth. Rexon takes out Pyrod, but Rexon then taken out himself by Yazan, and still not claimed by either side. Joker with that nade through the drone hole, and that gives ES Academia Spirit that man advantage coming into this late round.
Proxy still has a very long angle to contest though, but it's taken out anyway. Turns his back at the wrong moment. It's a 3 versus 2 scenarios. Yazan and D7 have the clutch potential. 35 seconds on the clock, and very long range distance is available with them, of course, with the Alda. But the Kobe comes out from the Pokeball, but it's actually closed off for IAS as they take them up anyway.
That is IAS qualifying for the R6 Central Combine. Congratulations to ES Academia Spirit. Commiserations to the Blue Jays. They will have, of course, another opportunity during the next 2 weekends with the open qualifiers, but IAS have booked their spot alongside a whole host of other teams inside of the R6 Central Combine. So congratulations to them, and of course, just a big shout out there to Joker. 17 and 6, I think it was, at the very end. 76. So beautiful, beautiful performance from him in particular that's carried them through to this round, but a great team performance as well.
Yeah, really wonderful. I think they deserve it. I think that overall throughout the competition, they've shown that they are one of the more dominant teams. Of course, they put Myth in the last one, who, for me, I thought that Myth would beat them. I'd actually put my money. I'd put money on it. I would have said Myth were going to beat them, but it's what it is. These are the things. You know, IS, they've put up the performance all throughout the games, and they played really well, and you shouted out Joker as well. It's always good when you have someone that will take the game by the scruff of the neck, and they will put in the performance when you need them. You know, they needed an entry pick, they maybe needed someone to react off something, maybe some of the utility wasn't going their way. There's a few times I highlighted in Trophy where they were sending nades in and they weren't connecting, they weren't getting the utility that they wanted, but Joker sends it in with the gun right anyway and gets the kill. So it's always difficult to play against when you have players like that, so I'll be worried for whoever they go up against. But of course, they still technically have a final to play for seeding, so we'll see how that plays out.
They do, and it is up against Speedboat, who have also, with their victory against Playing Ducks, managed to qualify for R6 Central Combine Phase 2. So that's very exciting to see that happen. And unfortunately, Playing Ducks and Blue Jays are going to be entering into a somewhat meaningless best of one third place playoff, but it could be the case that if Speedboat or ES Academia Spirit can't compete for whatever reason, that Blue Jays or Playing Ducks will be able to take their place. So they may want to put some effort into that round if they think that that's a possibility. Speedboat and ES Academia Spirit will play against each other next for seeding. We will decide whether we cover that game or not. It depends. Sometimes these teams, they don't play them, so we'll just see what the decision is. If it happens, I think we'll probably just, you know, go and watch it, because it's two great teams and a precursor to the R6 Combine Phase 2. You know, I want to see some good Siege today. We treated it a very good match, but it was Oregon. So I'm hoping for a different one. I hope these teams want to let loose on somewhere a little bit more exciting, Chad. That's my hope.
I mean, if Speedboats play the way they played when we watched them the other day, we're in for a banger of a game. So I'm hoping we get it. I think that I can see in the chat that they are discussing it, so I think that we will be getting one. So we'll see we'll see where the night takes us, Jerry. We'll see where we go.
Yeah, the night is young. So we're just going to head to a quick break and sort things out behind the scenes. So do grab yourselves a drink and make sure to come back here for what will likely be a very exciting final between Speedboat and ES Academia Spirit. Don't go far.
Yep.
And this is why I shouldn't produce at the same time. Hold on. Here's the Be Right Back speed. Don't go far. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome to the Arctic Central Combine EU Central Qualifier Grand Final. And it's a Grand Final, but it's not necessarily grand, because both of these teams have just already qualified by winning their semi-finals. The last two teams to get in, and we have ES Academia Spirit versus Speedboat. Cham, it should be a good match.
It should be. We've already watched both these teams a couple of times. I've seen. This will be the second time actually watching both of them. Well, actually, third for IAS, I guess, if you want to call it that. For me personally, Saint Speedboat, we've seen, of course, earlier in the week. They were so aggressive. They were so quick on Chalet. That was the only game that I personally observed. Of course, don't know what their form is like in the rest of the tournament, but they're looking good at least. Of course, got themselves to the final. IAS, we've just came off the back of watching them, and they've been fun as well to watch. And they've had a few, big hitters. Of course, Joker has been one to name. Themselves, so it's been good. But moving into the map bans, of course, very simple stuff. It is, of course, a best of one, so I don't think we'll see anything that is too spicy, and I can see that the overlays are probably ever so slightly wrong, because I already know what the ban actually is, but it happens.
Yep,
we're all running off of the same things.
My bad. Let's just go.
It's okay.
Let's just go straight to the game, because the game.
We'll just go straight to the game.
Let's just go straight to the
Spoiler
game.
alert.
Yeah. So that was the previous game's map ban, which was fun because we went straight into the previous game, and that's why it's kind of messed up in the overlay. That's my bad.
Yeah.
We went straight into the previous game because we were surprised that it had started, and now this time round we have the wrong map ban. So you've got the map ban for the previous game on the screen, which was nice. So you got to see how that Oregon thing played out. But yeah, now we're headed to Villa. That's the important thing. And we start with a Nook ban coming out from Speedboat and ES Academia following up with a Thatcher. Again, I mentioned this the other day. Thatcher bans just feel a bit strange to me, especially now on a map where hard reach really doesn't actually matter too much anymore here. So you got to think about how that's going to be. How is the Thatcher going to cause a big problem on this map that couldn't just be solved by impact EMPs?
Yeah, we're long past this being a big map for hard breachers. Of course, long past the days of reinforcing the full wall inside a master. You don't really do that as much. It's usually half open, and there's a little bit of hard breach for it. Same goes really for study. Again, most of the time it's open, and then you maybe have to do some hard breach. Depends. So I don't see. Of course, EMPs is the big reason. The impact EMPs is the big reason that Thatcher is really depleted in pick rate. So maybe they've got a target man. Maybe it's a comfort thing. I don't know. We'll find out. But Solus and Azami, two of the holy trifecta. Let's be honest, Jerry. There's not really much to discuss. Very strong operators. Villa is probably, I think, one of the best maps for Solus because it's so big. It's so reliant on pre-placed drones. I think Solus thrives on this map, but she's banned away. So I think that'll be a little bit easier for the attackers.
Can I just say I love the way you say the word thrives.
Thrives.
There was a real kind of. It wasn't even a deliberate roll of the R, but it was there, and it was lovely.
Thrives. Yeah.
Thrives.
I think
great word.
I think it's the good old Scottish accent.
Yeah.
It comes through. I've been told this as well. My accent comes through stronger on broadcast than it is in real life.
Interesting.
And I think it is because I have to enunciate. I promise I'm not just playing up my accent, but it's because I have to enunciate and speak clearer than in real life. I normally kind of mumble and speak a bit quicker. So believe it or not, I speak quicker than this. So
oh, God.
This is, I think, where people get a little bit like, wait a minute, is your accent stronger? And I'm like, no, it's just because I'm saying things clearer that it comes through. But anyway, enough waffle. We're into the game. We've got through the prep phase in the first one, and interestingly enough, they're starting on a kitchen and. I'm drawing a blank. That's the one dining.
Yeah.
It's always kitchen dining, but I feel like it wasn't. But
it's pretty much always kitchen dining on like every map as well. There's Mallow with a run out, taking down Sucker. Immediately goes to the second. Okay, that's ballsy. Doesn't need to follow it up though. But maybe that's a sign of some of the intent from Speedboat. We know that they are like this.
Yes.
To put it bluntly. This is what you need to expect. ES Academia Spirit have just played a very kind of slow, methodical, lethargic game against Blue Jays, and I do worry that it won't have been a sufficient warm-up for what's about to hit them.
Yeah, I think Joker was the only one that was really, really showing us a bit of pace in the last one. Of course, we've seen it a little bit from a few of the other members, but Speedboats are known for being quick. They're known for being fast off pace, and they really keep their foot on the gas the entire time. So we'll see if it continues here. Red Nade though spotted out, but Mallow dashes away from that. I love it. This is what I'm saying about. I said this in the last map on Oregon. I like to see the fact that people are bringing Oryx despite the fact he doesn't have the 1.5, using the ability to the best of its ability. Daya has this mirror upstairs, which we never really spoke about inside. It's not a common thing you'll see, but it knows exactly where the player is coming from. Behind them, Joker, put it in the dirt, and we're in a 5 versus 3 scenario, Jerry.
Sickly getting into position to try and get some Fuse charges down, but he's being aggressed on by Dyer, who doesn't need a mirror window. He's just going to walk at you instead. Dyer finds his second on the round. A huge impact already. Rexon looks away at just the wrong moment, and that allows Kaneo to mow him down with the Uzi. Fantasy is left with all but a dream in 1 versus 5. Takes out Snakes, gets some damage sent his way, but Mallow is there to shoot him in the back. The Oryx closes things out just as he opens things up, and that is a trademark quick round, a quick opening to the game from Speedboat.
Yeah, I think we could be quickly onto the pints tonight. I think this is looking like it's going to be quite quick from Speedboats. They do not seem to be messing around. Bear in mind that was technically a tertiary site, technically to start off with. Maybe caught them out a little bit. Okay, we'll chalk that off and we'll say that, yeah, maybe they were not expecting them to go there first. But we'll see how it plays out. Aviator Games, though, the more standardised site, we'll see how that plays out. And the Fenrir. This is what I want to see. Right away, they've recognised, right, cool, we're feeling a little bit of pressure, it's very quick. We're going to get straight in there and throw the Fenrir at you and see if we can slow it down a little bit. So hopefully that actually comes to fruition throughout the round. Of course, we've got the Rooney Gates as well in the hands of Caneo. So we'll see if that does at least slow down, or, well, I've seen slow down, but I'm kind of messing around. I'm seeing if that kind of slows it down a wee bit. We'll see what happens.
I do like this. I think on this map, it definitely has a lot of impact. You think about how I've often made the comparison between Fenrir and Mirror, and Mirror has limited potential on this map because of the way that metas have developed and set up to develop. But in theory, if a lot of these walls were soft walls, then Mirror would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like hard walls in this map where you think if you could put a Mirror there, that would be unstoppable. You can put a Fenrir there, and that means that you can make that happen. So you can have that setup you wanted. Joker takes down Kaneo. A good first kill to get, and a good first person to get it as well. We want to see Joker in his element if we want to see Idis Academia Spirit with any chance of holding their own in this game. The real hero of the last one for the Hungarian side. Speedboat, though, won't be too dismayed. They still have plenty of people who can pick up the slack when needed. So after playing on this Kali, just hoping that Saints will just peek on into him, which, let's be honest, that's a pretty good bet. You know, if I was going to bet on any team to peek a Kali, it would be these guys.
Joker downstairs knows there's someone floating around the side of the piano, but do they know they're this close? Is not going to check in time. 4 versus 4 as Mallow evens up the scoreboard inside of this round. 2 minutes left on the clock, so plenty of time as a nade that finds the life of Ifotin upstairs. Daya still down in the library, has his E4 available and will likely play for that vertical play, but Mallow's made the rotate up the red staircase and found the life of Sickly on the landing. And the yellow pings come out and a C4 from Daya downstairs, which I just mentioned. It seems to be that every single time I mention some sort of play, I'm coming off it as it happens. Daya's down inside the library. It's technically a 2 versus 2 as Fantasy now finishes that off. But HP-wise, not looking too great for him.
That was just a constant string of 1v1s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We went down from a 5 versus 4 to a 2 versus 2 in about 30 seconds, and every single one of them was like a delayed refrag almost. You now have that 2 versus 2. Fantasy on very low HP, and he's going to have to do it all by himself. Mallow picks up a triple on the round, takes a lot of damage as the attempted refrag comes through, but the movement is smart enough from the Mozzie to get out of harm's way. Snakes expects a peek there. The nade sent down range, a bit blind, didn't know that Sneaks would be sneaking around this corner. And there we go. The SMG-11 does clean things up. Of course, that bulletproof you can with the yellow ping. Oh, whoa. The bulletproof cam with the yellow ping. Just got ahead of myself there. Feeding the intel, making it a very easy pickup at the end. Good round from Speedboat.
Yeah, I like that we're seeing the pace from both sides. So IS were in the building pretty quickly, and that from Joker was the one to do that. He obviously got the peak, he countered the spawn peak, which is always great, and then straight into Art right away. Got caught out by the existence of the Mozzie down there, and wasn't obviously lost that out. But IS are bringing a little bit of pace, and I thought that this would be the case. I thought that Joker would be the one to try and set that. The thing is, though, for the rest of IS is they're kind of lagging behind a little bit, and a team like the Speedboats will punish you for that. And it's meaning that there is quite a lot of, like you say, the delayed frags are coming out, and it's just the reactions are just not quick enough from IS so far. So see what they have, of course, going into a different site, going into Trophy. First couple of iffy rounds from them, but that one was a lot closer than what we've seen the first round. So we'll see if they can make things work. Of course, Fenrir coming through again. I mean, what else is there to talk about the Fenrir other than it is offensively difficult to counter?
I feel like we have a single cheerleader in the chat who's here to make it feel like a grand final. That is Kangaroo Kenny. Good to see you here, my man. Who did a whole damn video on Fenrir. So if you haven't seen that and you're watching, go and check it out. Goes into full depth about how he's the most power crept operator to be released in ages, and it's a great watch. So there's plenty to talk about, but you know, just go and do that. You know, Kenny's already talked about it. Why would I? Now, we've got ourselves this top 4 defense, this trophy statuary that Speedboat have opted to make as effectively their tertiary, and some drone work coming up from ES Academia Spirit. They have to honestly, I feel, act on these drones a little bit sooner because Speedboat are going to move. Like, they're going to be gone from that spot as soon as you drone it out. So there needs to be a little bit more coordination in this early round to try and decide, okay, this is the player we're going to pin. This is the one we want to hunt down. It looks as though they've decided they want to kind of create a cutoff here. Well, maybe not. I misread Sucker there. I thought they were going to try and create a cutoff in, around Wolf or the landing window, but they haven't done that. So they're not trying to roam clear from south to east, south to north. Never mind. It's just not happening.
Yeah, they're moving at snail's pace here, IS. They really are taking quite a bit of time to actually get an impact into the round, or into the actual map. They're not really getting anything. They don't have control of Master. They have no control vertically either. They still have Dia downstairs, and we can still see from that there is someone creeping up that staircase downstairs. Canio knows that there's going to be pressure coming from Master, but it's still yet to come. We're a minute and a half into the round, and IS really haven't moved off of any of these repels or these windows. They're really holding on to some angles and waiting for Speedboats to make a mistake. Speedboats are an aggressive team. They will overpeak, so I get the thinking of doing it. Sneaks is looking like he might be the first one to do just that, but this is the issue. You hold an angle for so long, eventually come off it, and the siege time is there, unfortunately. Flashbangs will come into bathroom, and surely that's going to lead to the death of Snakes, who is not quite dead yet. Still hanging on, dead down but not out. Dia finds one as well. Joker to fall. 5 versus 3, and this is now where the activation of the aggression starts to come.
Sucker has that diffuser in hand. Keep an eye on him here outside of Master Bedroom. Well, not any longer as he hops on in. Teneo goes to that swing, but cannot land the shots, taken down to a smidgen of HP, but there with the second attempt will seal the deal. Diffuser now down in Master, forces Fantasy into this position where he has to go and take kills. His teammate on the other side of things trying to pinch onto this position, but Mallow will deal with Sickerly. 1 versus 4. Great little two-piece there from Fantasy, but there's another right on his back. Has time to reload. Takes the pre-fire. Oh, the yellow ping doesn't quite connect with Dia, who ducks out the way just in time, and Dia will spring up from the Astro stairs and finally put a stop to Fantasy's fantasy of a 1 versus 4 clutch. Saints just cling on there, or rather Speedboat, but it is a 3-0, and that is still dominance on this half.
Just a snail space, that's all it is. I just mentioned that. The IS just are not using the clock to their full advantage. A minute and a half before they had any foot inside the map in a meaningful way. They had someone in the basement. That was literally the only foothold they had in the actual map, and that is the issue. Speedboats are just way too quick of a team. They're waiting for them to make mistakes. They're waiting for them to overpeak, which, granted, they will do, but the issue is the reason they do that is because they back it up. They win the wins. You see Mallow 6-0 just now. Also, Dia 6-1. They're landing the shot. So the issue is when you invite that and you can't back it up yourself, it leads to 3-0. So I need to see something change. I think IS, they really need to change something. Maybe go back to basics. Just start to take a little bit of drone work, just something, Jerry. Just need some action. That's what we need.
Something. Yeah, something has to change. It felt like ES Academia Spirit that round. They were, waiting for those mistakes to happen. And I feel as though you can't do that against the side of Speedboat's caliber. You have to force the mistakes to happen, right? They maybe pushed a single player into an unfavourable position, and that was Snakes moving into bathroom. Besides that, Speedboat were able to kind of just play relatively passive. Yeah. That's the thing, is against one of these teams, you've got to be ready for them to just decide, you know what, we're taking a round off. Let's rest ourselves for a moment.
I'm giggling just in the background. Just every single time at the start of the round, there's always at least 2 or 3 gun barrels hanging out of a window from Saints every single time. They're always wanting to just go out a window. You can see inside the bathroom the aggression here. 30 seconds in, Rexon punishes it, and that's what they've been waiting for. They've been waiting for something like that. Eventually, it does happen. Is this the trend, Burke? Have we finally got something happening here, Jerry?
Yeah, they've been waiting for him to die. Finally, they forced the issue. There goes the Yana replicator, dispelled by Dia, who played this position very well on the first kitchen defense. Let's see if he can replicate that performance. Nope. Sucker will immediately dispel with him, but Dyer has been down elsewhere. Rather, sorry, Sickly has been down elsewhere. Is res. So we'll continue the round on 20 HP. Canero, phone rings out. I don't think they heard it. I think he was far enough away for that audio cue to maybe go unnoticed. Lots of C4s here on the defense, and there goes the last one. Doesn't connect with anyone because there's a party in the shower. As they're all deciding to hide on that nice indestructible ceiling to avoid any death from beneath. And now they've actually outlasted the barrage of explosives. They can try and take the fights. But Kaneo will say no to that and takes down Fantasy. Gets back onto site. A huge pick, and amazing that he got away with his life there. Gives Speedboat some hope in this late round. Joker, though, taking down Snake. 2 versus 4 for Speedboat. Can they hold on?
Still lots of time left, 1 minute and 20 seconds on the round as Canyon quite surprisingly dropped back down to the mid floor there, but can't quite flick onto the head of Joker. In fact, well, actually does, but...
It was down by someone else. That was confusing.
That was very confusing.
Yeah.
Iverton isn't a 1 versus 3 though, that's not confusing. The minute left and can't quite get the flick onto the player inside of sight. Sickly closes it out, and that's a round on the board for IAS. Finally, they arrive on the scene.
And about time. About time. We won a game from this. You know, this is the grand final, which means very little. Of course, there is seeding at stake, which could mean something, to be fair, when you think about how sort of spread out the groups are in phase 2. Yeah. It gets a bit complicated there, so it could be that seeding does play a massive factor. So it's worth fighting for, definitely worth fighting for, but they have done the hard work. You know, they've made it in to phase 2. So maybe they're feeling a little bit cheeky with it, maybe they're not. It's anyone's guess here, but the way that Speedboat have come out, it feels like they mean business. And other, you know, if you're unfamiliar with them, you might look at them and think, you know, they're just trotting about. This is the modus operandi for for Speedboat. They are used to kind of playing a bit fast at least.
Another day at the office for them, to be honest. This is exactly what... This is why I thought this was going to be an interesting game. Or, well, maybe not an interesting is probably the best word. At least fun is probably the best word that they can go with. Because, yeah, strats may not be that deep. The tacticalness, if that's a word, might not be there. But it's fun. It's exciting. Speedboats are out of a window every 2 seconds. They're swinging absolutely everything in sight. It's exciting to watch. IES have so far been punished. They've at least been able to land a punch with at least getting that 1 round on Speedboat. So hopefully that continues on for them, and we'll see if obviously that does play out. Aviator and Games, though, difficult site to attack, of course, so we'll see how that plays out.
It's good to see that ES Academia Spirit are now taking due caution, right? That is important. They felt like they've been taking due caution from maybe round 3 onwards, but we saw that was just a stagnant approach, right? Now they're not just playing carefully, but they're also actually coupling it with a little bit of the right kind of aggression. So that has to continue for them to sort of have a chance on these attacks. 2 more remain, and of course this first of those 2 in the AVG defense does spot the Mozzie. Oh, Mallow strikes back though, wins that engagement somehow onto Rex, and down goes the Lion. Those EE1Ds will not be a factor in the rest of this round. They do have the logic bombs, which serve a similar purpose, but they're not going to lock people in place the same way that you can with those Lion EE1D charges, and that means that especially these nades from beneath are not going to be nearly as effective when paired with good drone work. That is why you take the Lion on this site.
Joker and Sickly are just paired up downstairs for now. Well, they'll likely try to play off of those vertical nades, and you can't hear the explosion just go off in the background as one does. Well, I say that, but it wasn't actually from Sickly, it's from Fantasy. But playing off the vertical nades, Daya knows what's up though. Knows that there's going to be some players around there, and Mallow, wow, what a shot that is. He's going to find himself a triple inside of this round, but can't quite connect with the third because doesn't realise there's one playing off the refrag. Sickly immediately right onto the vertical nades, but doesn't want to go for it as of yet. Wary of someone coming in that mean stairs.
Mallow was truly a dead man there, but he went down fighting. So fair shout to the guy. That's a heroic performance in the first half of the round. Found all 3 kills, and now he's given the rest of his team a very easy job here. Sucker and Sickly left in 2 versus 4. That's quite a mouthful at the best of times. The Aruni holding the vertical. Sickly smart enough not to peek into it. Oh no! Just comes out of the ADS at the wrong time. Sucker, unfortunately, that is siege timing in a nutshell. Does manage to shoot out the C4 though, and survives a little bit longer. A minute left on the timer. Sickly and Sucker again. Just a funny name duo have it all to do. Great little sprint in, but the cover is there from Everton, and now Sickly, surely it's a done deal. Holds the fuser, but no nades. It's going to be a gun game from him.
It's going to have to be, of course, 40 seconds on the clock, so still enough time to make something work. Try to find themselves some space, but they don't have much of it. Managed to claim all the way up towards landing. I think I'm going to catch someone up looking. Actually, no, Daya's completely aware of it. Speedboats take another round. That's 4-1. on the score count on Villa.
Again, just exceptional work from the Saints from the Speedboats. If anyone's wondering why I keep sort of stumbling on Speedboat and Saints, it's like they have it all in their names. At one point, they were Saints Speedboats. They're competing this time just under the name Speedboat. It doesn't really make sense. You know, they're LFO. Go pick them up. They're good enough. They're absolutely good enough to get some representation for these games. Brain decided to 404 error there. I'm not quite sure what that was.
It happens. It does happen. The life of a caster.
Yeah.
Oh well, heading into what is now round number 6 inside of Villa. Top floor hold, and Speedboats are looking confident so far. They've brought the Mira this time. Daya likely will pop that on the middle of that wall and play around it. We'll have sneaks inside of it. I never know if it's sneaks or snacks.
I've said snakes, I've said sneaks. I need to ask the guy, to be honest, because we're going to be casting a fair bit more of him potentially if he makes it into the Combine, so that's very exciting. Well, I mean, he is in the Combine. Well, I mean, we'll see a lot of this guy. So yeah, let's find out. We should find out.
We should, yeah. Other than that, other names are actually not too bad, of course.
Yeah, I know. Sickly and Sucker is just a real mouthful when you have to say them in the same sentence, so.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely everyone. Not the worst names I've ever seen. At least they're clear on what they are. Some, it's always a nightmare when someone has numbers and you have to read it backwards and stuff. But anyway, let's waffle back into this game. Round number 6, supposedly. Of course. Mallow is inside of bathroom, playing maybe the hop out game, but I'm not going to go for that as of yet. Don't want to jump the gun as such as Fantasy opting to get himself onto the rappel. We've seen this the last time IS had to run these rappels for so long on these windows, really playing for the mistake of Speedboats, and they never made it, never once. Really overpeaked, except for Snatch who's down below this time inside of Kitchen with a vertical angle, which we always love to see. And we'll like to feel some pressure coming in shortly.
Yeah, I'm going to have to train my brain to say snacks now. If Kenny's wrong about this, then blame him. But at least I can continue saying snacks and have a kind of, like...
someone to blame.
Yeah, someone to blame, a scapegoat. You can look at all these FNATs, just all around the master bedroom. You've got a mirror looking in there as well. That is
offensive.
No way do you survive if you step inside that room.
No. And it's banded as well.
A Twitch would have been so good here to clear out all of that utility, but it's not been brought by the attack. And I think, that's got to be a nade or two sent the way of any of those pieces of utility to make it even remotely traversable.
Fenrir of Cano inside of now Astronomy, of course, was holding on to bathroom, but opts to rotate back after feeling a little bit of pressure. Some drones in, we got the intel they needed, and that's forced them back. Daya still on that mirror window, but Snacks is down below with the C4 and the vertical angle, so this will have to be checked. Make sure that he doesn't get a lucky kill. Joker creeping up the pantry staircase though, knows that there's going to be someone floating around there. Will catch the player out and gets the kill. Free as a bird. Joker finds it. Snacks immediately activates E1D just to stop anyone playing off the refrag as Mallow finds one of their own. That's Sickly to fall, and we're in a 4 versus 4 scenario with a minute left on the clock, Jerry.
Oh, that's... It's Academia Spirits. Misery's compounded there. That DC 3 versus 4 now. Joker trying to find something beneath, but it looks like Saints or Speedboat, whatever you want to call them, are kind of evacuated. The mirror window pinged, but now Dyer has moved off it. Does take a bit of a chunk of damage there as he moves back at just the wrong moment, but enough to survive. The mirror window will be opened up from beneath. Good work there. Mallow will find Joker out those windows, and now Fantasy and Sucker will last alive. Fantasy gets into engagement by Iferton, and Iferton will come out on top. Sucker should have this one for free as a refrag onto Mallow comes through, but it's a 1 versus 4 yet again for IAS. And they are bearing down upon him with no holds barred. Sucker does take down Kaneo as he offers maybe a little bit too much to him, but Iferton and Dyer should know how to see this out with only 14 seconds left. Champ Sucker has one option, is to send the Astro stairs, but he doesn't even go for it. He's going for the kills, fights back onto the arches. It's not going to work for him. Drop comes through, maybe can get an exit frag, but no, Iferton will clean it up. Sucker goes down, and Speedboat with a 5-1-1/2 on Villa.
Wouldn't have been too bad there if he'd been quicker on the rotate. If he'd got himself up there, then actually may have had a chance. AK-12, full HP, diffuser in hand, versus 2 members alive. One of them was on 50 odd HP. So it was actually clutchable if he'd give it a bit of a bash, but it happens. It's all good, these things. Of course, just having a little bit of a tech pause just now, of course, after the back of that disconnect. Not sure what the issue is, but it's been a good game. I'm not surprised to see it going the way it is. Those speedboats are so quick, and if you don't deal with that aggression, then you're just going to be punished for it every single time. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah. You have to imagine that some sort of research was done between now and last week, or now and Monday rather, when the first part of these quals were going through, and I would imagine that IAS probably looked at Speedboat and thought, well, thank God they're not on our side of the bracket, right? Thank God we don't have to come up against them for the qualifier. Would have put all of their efforts into their own game and maybe looking over VODs of Blue Jays just to make sure that they were prepared. Preparing for this team is quite a task, right? There's plenty of tape on them now. They won't be competing in the next few weekends. That gives teams a lot of time to try and dissect what's going on here. Because, you know, we can say it's a bit chaotic. We can say it's a bit ranky, a bit kind of all these sorts of words that feel a little bit derogatory at times. But there's definitely an internal logic in there. And people will root it out. People will find it. So I think that Saints Speedboat will have a big target on their backs coming into the Combine proper. But we'll go back into the game now. 5-1. Second half will resume after our little tech pause there. Thanks for waiting. And here's Academy of Spirit. Defending on Villa, it's definitely been done, but they have to have quite a reverse sweep in there.
They're going to have to. As long as they deal with the aggression the speedboats have, then they'll get something out of it. They'll get a couple of rounds, I think. They do still have at least a lifeline, and the fact that they're not facing down a match point, they still have at least one life before that situation is faced up in front of them. But the thing for me is that I don't have too much faith in the way that they've set this lineup up. I would have liked to see the Fenrir, I would have liked to see a Legion, some Banshees, Capcans, whatever, because they should really know at this point that speedboats are going to bring the pace, and I don't know if just a lone Thorn device is enough to slow them down.
I have a concern about ES Academy of Spirit, and that is, like you're hinting at there, they feel a little bit behind the meta, because we saw this on Oregon as well. We saw them a very much reliant team on in the basement hold, bringing a Rooney, bringing a Maestro, bringing a Malusi. This is a meta that's existed, you know, maybe 6 months ago, but is a struggle to keep alive now in the face of this aggression, and Rexon will take down Snakes, or Snacks, whatever his name is, in the very early round, removing the single hard breaching option from the attack. Straight away, Joker onto Mallow, Dyer onto Sucker. There's just action back and forth. Kaneo sneaked his way into sight, and he gets two. One on main stairs and one right inside the site. Joker and Fantasy have to deal with this action pretty quickly. Joker, though, is taken out by Kaneo yet again. He stinks of piss. What are you talking about, Kenny? 1 versus 2 now, and it's Fantasy again in the clutch or kick scenario.
And it's a 1 versus 1 now. Fantasy versus Kaneo, who both have had decent halves so far. Kaneo, though, is going to go in for this plan, and a bit of a peculiar place to go for it, but it could be done. Fantasy holding from a vault. Kaneo just with the bait, of course, 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock, so loads of time. Doesn't have to force the plan, just wants to force the gunfight instead, though, but drops to the prone, and eventually enough bullets in the mag to finish it off, and they go on to match point.
Nice shot, they say. We won't put that one to a vote. But it got the job done. Plenty of bullets in that mag, thankfully, for Kaneo. So, yeah, a quad kill on the round. And it wasn't a clean finish at all, but it was a very clean entry. And Speedboat now on match point. This is a very comfortable position for them to be in. This is very much a statement match for Speedboat going into Combine. You know, they're putting a target on their backs as much as they're gaining notoriety, as much as they're gaining that kind of fear. That people will fear this team, no matter how it works out. And maybe even at the weekend with the open qualifiers, teams will be thankful they won't have to come up against these guys.
I imagine so. But, you know, I want to highlight on this defense that they have changed things around there. Yes, they have brought the Rooney, they have brought the Ella. So whether that is their traditional setup, we'll never know. But I'm hoping that it is a counter. I'm hoping that they've recognised that speedboats are very quick off the bat, and they need something to slow them down. Of course, the Cade as well, Wamai and Mozzie just to round things off. And this round, could be a little bit better for my S. I'm hoping it's going to be a bit better anyway, just because they have a little bit better of a kind of setup for it. But particularly those setting things up on the south side, which is a peculiar area to set things up with the Ella. But whoa, almost loses their head on the spawn peak.
This feels like Sickly playing a little bit kind of solo. Of course, he's got Sucker in support, but you know, this is a guy who's just picked onto Ella, just tossing his ice cream cones all around main stage. Like, there's an element of I want to take a fight and I want to win it. Like, Sucker is there to back him up, hold this crossfire, and Diet will try and match that. Forces his way through into study, avoids that crossfire. Sickly does take out Kaneo, who was following close, so you imagine that Sage just had no idea about that player top of main, but nice one tap onto Sickly, and Diet will deal with Sucker as well. That duo on the far side dealt with completely and swiftly by Speedboat, and now the remaining three have it all to do.
Joker inside of Closet now. Knows there's one out on that balcony. The outline is there, but it's just leading the wrong way. The perspective is going to betray you. Snacks finishes him off as a 4 versus 2 situation. 2 minutes on the clock, and like I mentioned, Speedboats are just lightning quick into this map here. Another one, hipfire kill actually comes out from Snacks, and it's one member left alive to try and finish this off and keep them inside it. But there's just too many guns trained into that direction. Speedboats take the map 7. 2?
1.
1. I was about to say 1. I was about to say 1, but then I was like,
yeah,
done.
Stop the timer. That's the second 7-1 we've cast for Speedboat.
Yeah.
The second one in this bracket. Utter dominance from them in the EU Central qualifier.
Yes.
Thoroughly deserved victory, and we got to see Mallow taking the centre stage that time around. I believe we didn't actually get to see Mallow during the week, so exciting prospect there. 13-4 during the game. So, yeah, even the sub. Oh, I don't know whether he's the sub or whether they were subbing out from Monday. You know, they have strength in depth, this squad. That's yet another reason to fear them. And ES Academia Spirit, credit to them. They gave some fight at the end. We did see them really wanting to take the fight to Speedboat, but there's nothing that can stop the Speedboat. It's faster than, I don't know, ES Academia Spirit don't really have like a mascot. It's just a badge. But it's faster than that.
They're quick. They are quick. Like there's literally no other way to kind of put it. They're also playing the meta to the best of their ability. They're using the operators that are coming in. They're using the Fenrir's. They're using the ones that obviously remain open. We've seen the Solus and also the Valk. But I think it was the Valk. It was banned, or was it the Izami? Was banned as well. So they are using the right operators at the right time. That's what IES just didn't do. They just seem to be stuck in their ways. You highlighted it in the middle of the game that they seem to be just going with the older style, and the teams that don't move with the meta are the teams that get left behind. We've seen that in the likes of BDS from most recent times. They've been dominating in Clubhouse, and now they're losing Clubhouse quite frequently because they just don't move with the meta as quick as other teams. And these things is that's what leaves teams behind. And I'm excited to see what Speedboats can bring in the main actual combine, because that style of play is so exciting to watch. It's so fun to watch. Yeah. And I like that they're playing to their strengths, and they do it so early. And I'm hoping that, you know, the only team that I've seen check them so far is BDS in the qualifiers for Copenhagen. That's the only team I've seen check them personally. So I want to see some action from them. I think they'll go quite far. It's
a pretty high bar as well. Like we know they're better than all the teams that were qualifying here and worse than BDS.
Yes, exactly.
That's quite a wide range.
They beat Team 86 as well.
Occupy. Yeah, there's lots of really sort of established teams that they've maybe kind of been in the mix with. But yeah, the Combine League will be a real kind of, or the league stage, phase 1, phase 2, division clash, conference clash, going to be a real test of the durability of this sort of roster and their play style. And I would maybe earmark them as early contenders for making the playoffs. We'll have to see.
I think so.
I think they've got it in them. Top 8, yeah. I see potential in that roster. So very exciting stuff. Like you say, Champ, great to have a team like this in the Combine. Yeah. They're always great to watch. Before we close things out, I know we've got all sorts of things going on over the weekend, but is there anything you want to say just before we close things out?
No, I want to say, just basically, if the people that are in chat, it depends on obviously who's been in kind of tuning in us during the week. I just want to say thanks for the support, of course, across the 2 channels. We've had quite a few streams. We've had quite a lot of success. It's been fun. It's been exciting. Of course, Open Closet this weekend is going to be on your channel. I believe you're going to be hosting it.
Yes, I will.
I won't be hosting it. I'm busy this weekend, but I will be hosting some the next set. So first and second, I'll be hosting, and I do have some special guests lined up. So tune into that on my channel. Nice. But other than that, That's it, Jerry. That's it. I've had a fun time. Have an excited time.
Great.
But,
It's been a real pleasure having you here, Cham. You're not the only one with special guests, by the way. This weekend, I'm going to have some of my own, so do keep an eye out for those over the open quals. Be really excited to finally see the whole of EU competing in one big melting pot for the first time in what feels like ages. It's going to be very exciting. And I cannot wait for it to start. We will be going live tomorrow a little bit later than the start of the bracket exactly, because it starts very early. They have to fit a whole open qualifier into one day. It begins at 10 a.m. My local time at least, and I happen to be busy at that point, so I'm going to be streaming probably the third round onwards tomorrow. So if you're missing the first few from my end, don't worry about that. There'll almost certainly be a number of other streamers on that role as well, so don't worry. I will return. I will return. If you care about my face and my voice that much, I will be back. Okay, so that's been it from me. That's been it from Cham. We've had a fantastic time. Congratulations to the two teams of ES Academia Spirit and Saint Speedboat that have both made it through into the Combine. We wish them the best, and we will see you on the other side. Goodbye.
See ya.
Clear. Wait, did I just transition back to us? I did. Let's do that again. How has that happened? Hello. Bye-bye, everyone. The end.